What is going on, everyone? This is probably one of the more interesting videos that we're going to do. Let me get some more light over here. There we go. Cool. So this is going to be one of the more interesting videos that we do because a lot of companies have a situation where if a prospect says this, then I want them to do this. However, if a prospect says that, I want them to do that. Or I want the AI to do that. So if that, then this scenarios. And this is going to be, I wouldn't say somewhat lengthy, but it's going to be somewhat of a fluid way of doing this, meaning it's not absolute. This isn't like the only way to do this. There's a number of different ways to do this. I'm just going to showcase what we did for a client in the loan space, in the hard money loan space, and we're going to go into how we set this whole thing up. But I'll also go into some other ones as well that will show you that there is more than one way to do this. So I'm going to delete all of this. As always, you never want to paste over the blue. You always want to delete it first so that way it's empty. Then, and only then, do you want to copy and paste the script that you're putting in there. So I'm going to hit copy and paste. Cool. Okay, so this is a script that I pulled from a company that is a client of ours, and this is actually something that they use on a daily basis. Now, I did take out the company information and any identifying information, but nonetheless, this is a if that in this scenario, and a pretty in-depth one that we built as well. And so yours may not be as complex, but you'll get the general idea. So up here, is the normal rules. That's fine. That's all pretty standard stuff. But right here is the, and I'll just put a seed phrase in here because it's not going to let me save unless I do that. There we go. Okay, so this is a script that has an if that then this scenario, and you can see right here. There's one scenario. There's two scenarios there, right? There's three scenarios. Four, right? So there's four different if that then this scenarios, and it's pretty complex. And so you can see that there's a lot of math and a whole bunch of other stuff like that. And so if you know that yours is going to be a pretty complex one, what I would recommend doing is all the way up at the top underneath the number 2 one. What I would recommend doing is in this scenario they have a loan. You want to have a conversation like you're a loan officer, and so what I would do is I would say, in this role that you work in, you are a loan officer with 15 years of experience, and we're not going to worry about the spelling mistakes because we'll go back and fix those. That is a common occurrence with me. So anyway, I digress. So 15 years of experience, meaning you are great at doing math and loan to value ratios. I could spell. There we go. Loan to value ratios. Here are some examples of some common math problems that you will solve. And I'll do 1 and I'll do 2. And so when you're building out an agent that has if that then this scenarios, this isn't coding, right? This is prompting. And so you want to be able to provide as much context as humanly possible, almost as if you're sending the AI out on a mission to do something very specific, right? Like, I don't know, think of anything complex, right? Like a Rubik's Cube, for example. There we go, right? There's a certain way to do a Rubik's Cube, and I have no idea what that Rubik's Cube is or how to even undo one. I just know that there's a pattern that you can do. And so in that scenario, you would want to provide context as to what they're going to see when they get inside of a real life situation. So, hey, if you get in a situation where one side has their full colors built out, then you want to do this. So in that example, let's say this color, that side of the Rubik's Cube is blue, then you want to move to this step, and then you want to go to this step, and then you want to go to this step. So you want to provide as much context as possible. So for example, if a home is worth $200,000, let's just say $200,000, and the homeowner owes $100,000, then they have $100,000 in equity, right? And then we can go down to the next one, and you see where I'm going with this, right? You want to be able to provide as much context as humanly possible to give this AI the most fair shake at completing this call as possible, right? And you can continue to add on to the context of the rules and dial it in as you need to. But I just wanted to provide that before we get into the actual if that then this scenarios, because it's going to make a lot more sense, especially to the AI as we start getting into it. So we're going to go down here. There's a seed phrase. Yeah, it's Jessica from Home Loans. I'm an assistant loan officer, and I noticed you checked out our commercial for hard money loans. Do you have a second to talk? Great. So I'm curious what sort of property you're looking to get a loan on. Apartment building. Interesting. And what city and state is the property located in? Charlotte, North Carolina, right? And is this a purchase or cash out refinance? This is a purchase. Or it could be a cash out refinance, right? It just depends on what the prospect says. That's where the if that then this scenarios come in. So let's take a look at it. If prospect, let's see. So there's actually two scenarios in one here. So it says, use the question if prospect says cash out refinance. The answer they give to the following question should be noted as value. Say the following, what is the value of the property, right? Now, and I guess right here, we actually skipped it. So never mind, I take that back. So if prospect says that this is a purchase, say, okay, how much money can you put towards the transaction? If prospect says refinance, then say the following. How long have you owned your property? Now, you could, if it starts to go off track on this, if it starts to go off track, you can actually do something a little bit different. You can say, all caps, type this exactly. And you can do the same thing for, you can say the same thing right here, because if there's another if that then this scenario right underneath of that, right? So you want it to say this exactly, because if the prospect says less than $100,000, say the following. If the prospect says over $100,000, live transfer the call. And so this is an example of how you set up an if that then this scenario. So it's all about context. It's all about telling the AI exactly what it is that you need it to do exactly, not vaguely. There has to be a very clear 1 and 0, yes and no, right? It has to be exact, and that's the only way that the AI deals with things, right? Because if you give it any sort of wiggle room, left or right or down the center, it's going to take whatever route that it wants to take, right? Whatever it thinks is the most logical. So you can't allow for any sort of wiggle room in there. And you're not going to know if you did do that until you actually start testing out the agent. This person spent a long time testing out the agent. Let's just say that. But you can also get a little bit more specific, right? So it doesn't have to be, if prospect says this, schedule an appointment. If prospect says this, then live transfer. However, you can do that, but and it's really simple. You would just have to go up here and you could just set up the live transfer or book an appointment, whatever it is, right? But if you go down here, it gets a little bit more specific. So while they're inputting the information, here is another if that then this scenario, just to give you an idea about how to do it. So, and mind you, all of this is in square brackets. Square brackets give the AI context as, hey, this is rules. Nothing in quotes, because everything in quotes with the tilde is going to be what the AI says. Everything in square brackets is going to be what the AI reads off of, saying, hey, this is what the rules I'm supposed to follow. Okay? So in this scenario, it says, if owed is less than the value, then perform the following calculation of percentage value. So 100 times owed divided by value, and remember it as LTV, and remember when saying the value to also say the word percent. So you see where I'm saying is you can't give it any sort of wiggle room. You have to be specific whenever you're talking about setting up an agent that has an if that then this scenario, especially if it has to deal with numbers or anything, regarding math or anything like that, right? You can also have it set up in a way where you can almost disqualify someone, which actually may be something that we can do. So I'll just set up one live here. So I'll just do an if that then this 2 advanced scratch. Here we go. Let's say everything went perfectly and you were using Air to scale a high-ticket business. How much money would you actually want to be making per month? Like ideal outcome, right? And so you can do this. You can say, remember square bracket, all caps, if prospect, there we go. If prospect says anything less than, we'll just say $30,000, then read the rejection script, right? And then we put a square bracket here. Now, we could do this underneath of it. Man, it's a habit to do those. So we'll just copy this. So if prospect says more than, and we'll just say 31,000. Well, for being specific. If the prospect says anything more than $30,001, type this exactly. Square bracket, tilde, quotation, and then you can go in and start saying what you want to say, and then end it with another quotation. Now, the rejection script, it could be a couple different things. So let's say the rejection script is, remember tilde, quotations. Let's say the rejection script is, okay, I'm still on caps. So you could say, okay, you don't meet the, man, I gotta get a new keyboard, or I suck at typing. So you don't meet the qualifications to do our program. So we are going to have to end the call, right? I mean, obviously that's kind of a mean way to end it, but let's say, for example, that you're going to have multiple rejection scripts, because now we're going to go up here and we're going to go to right here, which is most important rule, and we're going to do this, and we're going to say all caps, this is the rejection script, and we're going to paste it in, and we'll just put square brackets around it, and there we go, right? So now, and you could also do the same thing that we did with the math agent. You could say, you're a whatever position, and your only goal is to make sure these people are the most qualified people to go into our program, right? And so now that we're here, we could say whatever we needed to say, and then we go in and we say, okay, wait for prospect to respond. Now we're going to go and say something else, right? So the next one would say, how much money do you want to make per month? And the other one is, let's say you only wanted to work with people who had a certain amount of revenue. And so you could say, that's amazing. Currently, how much revenue are you doing? And I'm on caps again. All right, here we go. Currently, how much revenue monthly does your company make? End quote. And we'll just leave that's amazing. Although I will say this. If you do all caps, the AI will say it in all caps, which is pretty funny. So now we're going to go and hit copy, and we're going to hit enter, wait for prospect to respond, enter. Now we're going to go into if that, then this scenarios again, right? And so we're going to copy this, hit paste. If prospect says anything less than 30,000, reject it. If prospect says anything more than, and say this exactly, and then type whatever it is that you want it to say, right? And let's say that you wanted to even further break it down. You could just keep doing this, by the way. You could just keep going down the list and qualifying or disqualifying the person as much as you want to. But you can do the if that then this scenarios, and you can do a lot of really cool custom stuff too. So for example, you could say if prospect says anything over this, you could say transfer the call and type this exactly, right? And then you could say this program sounds like a perfect fit for us or for you, and so I am going to transfer you to one of our agents right now. End quote. I already had a quote in there. So now we're going to do this. We're going to copy the sentence. We're going to go up here to add an action, live transfer, and then we'll do live transfer, and then we'll do 555. There we go. And so we'll do the live transfers there, right? And so we'll do, and then boom, right there. That sounds perfect. You sound perfect, or perfect fit. We're going to transfer you right now. Then you hit submit. And then once you hit submit, now that action is there. And so now it's going to go through and qualify your prospect for you. And then when they get to that certain point, it's going to fire off that action and transfer that call over. So you could use this if you're in insurance and you're trying to qualify someone based on medical history or do they smoke, whatever the case may be, and you only live transfer that lead over to you. You could do this for hard money loans, where if you're only trying to do a loan for someone that has a certain amount of loan to value ratio, then you could do that too. If you, like, for example, if they have 55% or less loan to value ratio in their loan, then schedule an appointment. If they have more than 56% loan to value ratio in their property, then transfer the call. I'm trying to think of some other ones too. If you're trying to qualify someone for a law office for your lawyer, hey, were you bitten by a dog? Yes or no? No. Hey, sorry, read the rejection script, right? And then it'll disqualify them if you're looking for people who were bitten by dogs, or maybe their shirt got caught in a taxi cab. I don't know. So hopefully this provided some guidance as to how to do those if that then this scenarios. And again, if this is proving to be something that's a little bit too difficult for you to do, we do this as an agency. And if you want to go check out our website, it's leadwebai.com, or you can just book a demo using the demo link down below in the description. And other than that, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out. See you later.